Lagada gives only one star of Shravishtadi. But what is Shravishta is a controversy because in Sanskrit the names changed. That is used as Dhanishta nowadays. But Shravishta and Dhanishta, why should it be same? Because Kosha has said they are Paryayi Pada. That was in 400 AD. This is about 3000 years before. Why should it be? In the Vedas, there is no word called Dhanishta. It is always Shravishta. It discusses the Daivatas. Even though there are 33 Devatas, 3 are sufficient, Yaska says. Prithvi and Antariksha and Dyauhu are sufficient, he says. Why this Rahu captures Surya and Chandra? Please note, Ketu is not Ketu. It is Rahu who does both Surya Grahana and Chandra Grahana in the more ancient time. Ketu coming in is only through the Panchanga, only after 13th century. I consider it to be an honor that I would be delivering the endowment lecture in the name of such a great scholar as R. Narasimhachar, who is so well known for his Karnataka Kavi Charitra in several volumes. Also, I thank Sangam Talks for organizing this lecture. As told, the book was released just 2 months back, the same platform, by Dr. Somanath, the chairman of ISRO at that time, and the president of Mythic Society, Mr. Nagaraj, and our chairman from Jain University, Dr. Raichan Chandraj, were all present at that time. This is something, a treasure of this country. This text called Mahasalilam is a treasure. It is up to us to use the treasure in the way we like. Sometimes it is kept in a museum for people to come and see. Sometimes it is open for us to use. It's a cultural treasure. So it is open to everyone. That is with some kind of emotion I'm talking, because it is the emotion when I felt when I went through the manuscripts and went through the kind of work that I'm doing. So the talk is divided, a very brief introduction why I am doing this, then about the manuscripts, unpublished manuscripts of the Garga Jyotisha, then the published text, that is this text, the Mahasalilam, briefly what it contains, how it has been structured, the structure of the book, and then the speciality of this text is what I want to spend a few minutes on that, maybe about 30 minutes or 20 minutes. That would include also the date of the work. The two will combine together. Then, of course, a very brief conclusion. A conclusion which you can also give, not only myself. Now, it's quite well known that from the time of S.B. Dikshit, about 120 years back, or even longer than that, astronomy in this country is divided into two groups: Siddhantic astronomy and pre-Siddhantic astronomy. Siddhantic astronomy would roughly say from Aryabhata onwards, that is the 5th century. Even before that, we had a few texts which also are called Siddhanta, called Soma Siddhanta, Brahma Siddhanta. But there are texts before that, the astronomy which was before that is what is called pre-Siddhantic. Now, another way of dividing is, whatever was there before the Common Era is more or less the pre-Siddhantic astronomy. Whatever has come or what is available to us after the Common Era, that is something like a new astronomy or a Siddhantic astronomy, you can call it. These words are very vague. Don't take it too seriously. But the characters of these texts will become very clear. Siddhantic is mainly mathematical, and there is less of observational astronomy. Whereas in the pre-Siddhantic period, they are mainly observational and less mathematical. There is a little bit of mathematics Brother Garga wants to introduce, but that is almost nothing. Now, the well-known pre-Siddhantic texts are, of course, the Vedanga Jyotisha of Lagada. Actually, Vedanga Jyotisha is not a right word for Lagada's work. It is only Archa and Yajusha Jyotisha would have been the right word. I will show you why it is so. Now, similar to astronomy, because this is about astral sciences actually, astrology has also grown in this country in parallel, and that also can be divided into two parts: pre-Hora astrology and Hora astrology. Hora astrology would be later, that is in the common era, whereas pre-Hora astrology, a little bit of that is there in Mahasalilam and in Parashara Tantra and also in the Vridagargiya Jyotisha. A little bit of that maybe I will be able to introduce. So this Mahasalilam text, my claim, is a foundational text of pre-Siddhantic astronomy and pre-Hora astrology. How we will see that. Now, the well-known ancient text I was already mentioning about Archa Yajusha Jyotisha. That is a text which belongs to about 1300 BC by Lagada, and that is a calendar text. It is algorithmic. You can call it mathematical if you want. It's arithmetical and algorithmic. And it does not contain anything about planets or eclipses or sun, moon. As far as calendar is concerned, is given, but nothing more than that in that text. Now, there is another text which also is pre-Siddhantic. That is a Jain text, Prakrita Jain text, Surya Chandra Pragnapti. That clearly is pre-Siddhantic. It belongs to about 500 to 300 BC, primarily in Prakrit, as orally told to his students by Mahavira. But the Sanskrit Chaya is available and also commentaries on that is available. But that belongs to a different tradition than the Vedic. But the foundation of that text also is Vedic only. The nakshatras and the names and structure of the sky, there are also a lot of similarities between the two. Also, there are changes, differences, but that belongs to a different period, 500 BC onwards. Whereas before 500 BC, what generally is called prehistoric, we have Lagada's work, Parashara Tantra, which have been published a few years back, but Parashara Tantra is available only as quotations by later authors. The original we have not been able to yet locate. But the statements given in Parashara Tantra can be analyzed to show that also belongs to roughly 1300 to 1400 BC. Now, the name of Vridagarga is quite well known. Garga and Vridagarga are well known. In the sense, people have quoted extensively from Garga and Vridagarga. But his works were not available in the original, other than the astrology books, what we call the Garga Hora, Garga Manorama, Prashnavali, which all belong to the later period. That is the Hora period. That is of the common era. So these names, the Rishi names, are family names, like Parashara, like Garga. Even the family people would also, by same Gotra we are called, as happens even now. There are so many Parasharas, there are so many Gargas. So to identify and all that, initial period, there was some way to say Gargya, Gargiya, like that. But while copying and all that, this has changed. And people put everything together into one school of Vriddha Garga, like we can say, or school of Garga. There is a lot of discussion on this in Indology texts. I will not go into those details. But please bear in mind, Vriddha Garga, the name itself would indicate somebody who is very senior, who should have lived long time back. So interest in history of science provides the impetus for looking into these texts, or to search for these texts. And I have to say that in astronomy, there are, like, the subject has two branches. Astronomers are also of two kinds in this country. One, traditional astronomers, very good with Siddhantic astronomy, all the 18 Siddhantas and the Jyotishas, the Panchangas, and astrology and all that. Other group of astronomers are the modern astronomers, so to say, trained in the Western tradition, mathematics, astrophysics and things like that. I fall somewhere in between the two. I'm between the two stools. But this has to be pointed out because the traditional scholars have not taken any interest in the pre-Siddhantic period. Other than, of course, the Vedas. Veda, Samhita, Brahmana, they all belong to the pre-Siddhantic only. They are extremely ancient. But what is the astronomical content in those? Only there are a few here and there, but not traditionally, this is not studied. What is studied in the Sanskrit universities and pathshalas is mainly Palita Jyotisha and Surya Siddhanta and a few other Siddhantas of the later period. Now, my interest was because of IKS, what is today called the Indian Knowledge Systems. And I have been looking into this kind of knowledge from my time at the Indian Institute of Science because I was working on earthquakes. And earthquakes, history is the most important thing when it comes to hazard analysis for earthquakes, seismic hazard analysis. So, without knowing the history of earthquakes, no country can be made safe to understand the seismic behavior of structures or to develop design codes and other things. Now, in that connection, I took interest and went on studying and then got attracted totally to this kind of work. It lasted about 20 years. Garga is quite known. His name is known, I was telling. Is it known from the pre-period, in the Vedic period, in the Vedanga period, or only in the modern period? It is known all through. For example, there is a text called the Atharva Parishishta. There is a Atharva Veda Parishishta, which is something like an appendix to the Atharva Veda. It is published, first published in Germany, later in India also it is published. There are two chapters which refer to Garga and Vriddha Garga. Similarly, Meena Raja, the Jataka comes to already the common era. Then Varahamihira, of course, quotes Garga and Vriddha Garga. Somakara, there is a Bhashya on the Yajusha Jyotisha by Somakara. It's very important. I will come to that in my talk. Then Bhattotpala in the 9th and 10th century, a Kashmirian, who has written a Vivriti in the Brihad Samhita, he quotes extensively Vriddha Garga and Garga. Because these people, they quoted their ancient authors. Like Parashara Tantra, I collected from there. Vriddha Garga is also quoted by them. Then Bhaskara Yogi in 13th century, Bhaskara Yogi was in South India. He was somewhere near Kanchipuram. He wrote a commentary on Varahamihira's Brihad Samhita. It has been published about 3 or 4 years back. He also quotes Garga, and Nilakanta Somayaji is the famous Kerala astronomer who developed modern mathematics, so to say, calculus and other infinite series approach. He also quotes Garga, Vriddha Garga. Now, this Garga is also famous traditionally for the Puranikas, so to say, because he is quoted in the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, it says that Yatra Gargena Vriddena Tapasa Bhavitatmana Kalajnana Gatischaiva Jyotishanche Vyatikramaha. You see, in the Vanaparva, for Tirtha Yatra, Pandavas are asked to go to this place. That is Saraswatya's Tate, go to Saraswati Tira, where Garga was doing tapas and he was famous for Garga in that place. So his name is there. And he says that he knew about Vyatikrama, that is the Utpatas of celestial bodies. So he is quite famous. But then there are, if you look into the originals, leaving aside the quotations, there are at least about 100 manuscripts available in the name of Garga. Garga, Gargi, Gargeya, Vriddha Garga Samhita, Gargiya Jyotisha, things like that. So it becomes so difficult to know who is this Vriddha Garga was quoted in Mahabharata, who are the Gargas later on we are all people are talking about. So we had to collect this and do a kind of a pattern recognition for that. So what I did was went on collecting Garga manuscripts, whatever it may be, whether it is Vriddha Garga, Garga. In this, of course, Pingri's catalog helped me, no doubt. to collect the different ones. But Pingree's opinionated discussions totally useless. It didn't help me in any manner because he gives very opinionated his comments on these manuscripts. Same with Parashara also. Parashara had said Parashara follows all omens from the Babylonians. When I went through all the Parashara quotations, there is no correspondence between the Babylonian omens and what Parashara has given. Same thing with Vrida Garga also. This Garga Samhita, he calls it Gargi Jyotisha. And there are a few people internationally now interested. They also call the original one Gargi Jyotisha, and they think it belongs to roughly 500 to 100 BC. So Garga was, according to them, an astronomer who was somewhere around that period. But you would see that the text that we have got, the manuscript we have got, totally belies all of this. That is not true. That is what my research has been about. So collected 25 manuscripts with the name of Garga only, nothing else. Then organized them. I will not go into all the difficulties we went through for months together in going through that. There are texts in Bengali script collected from Paris. There is one from Cambridge which has all the folios interchanged, but it contains the full one, but things are interchanged. There are some from National Library of India in Calcutta. With some difficulty, I got it. Similarly, from various places. One from Nepal I got, called Vrida Samhita, but that turns out to be totally a Vastuvidya text. There is no Jyotisha, there is no astronomy in that, other than, of course, Jyotisha to the extent of Shubha Nakshatra, Shubha Karana is there. There is no Shubha Vara either in that. There is no Rashi in that. So it is a very ancient text which belongs to 500 BC or so, which we have roughly reviewed, myself and Varija Adiga, who is sitting here. We have published that also as an important Vastuvidya, the most ancient Vastuvidya text of this country in Sanskrit. In fact, I published Narada Shilpam thinking that is the most ancient one, which belongs to 500 AD or so. But this turns out to be more ancient than that. Well, anyway, that is another story altogether. So, collecting all of this, what I found was the first 11 of them in this list, they belong to one group because their Mangala Shloka is same and they contain information about sun, moon, eclipses, comets. Comets are very important. Whereas Siddhantic astronomers never bothered about comets. Whereas these people, both Parashara, Vrida Garga, Mahasalilam, even the Vedic texts, they quote comets quite extensively. Now, this is the collection of the manuscripts. I'm just showing how we collected them, soft copy, some hard copy, some beg, borrow kind of thing. No steal, but we only begged and borrowed. And then made a copy of them. And you can see there is a Grantha script here. With great difficulty, we have read through this and separated them out. Of course, in this, I've been helped by 3 or 4 of my colleagues. 2 of them are here. Smita and Rupa are here. The others have not come. So they have all helped me in reading and organizing this. The Mangala Shloka is this: Jagad Vidatre Tamasan Nehantre. It is about sun. Prajanam Palasampradatre Mantrekshana Srotasi Bhavakartre Tasmai Namo Di Vidaye Savitre. This is a common thing in the first 11. So that tells me that belongs to one group without much difficulty. What it contains? This is supposed to contain 64 angas, 64 parts, as it is said in the Mahabharata. Chatushashtyangam Jyotisham. 64 we have not got here. We have got only 62 chapters, but maybe with some plus or minus you can make it 64. That is a different thing. Then it contains 3 introductory chapters. Then it contains 24 what are called angas. Each anga may contain more than one chapter. So totally this contains about 125 chapters. And the number of shlokas come to about 5,000 verses. About 4,300 regular verses and about 700 equivalent prose. So prose and poetry, everything is combined in this. So this is what you can see, a layered text. Something has been original there, and then people have added, the school of Garga have added more and more. That's quite clear because the text itself calls the first 24 are Anga, the remaining are called Upanga, and there is some repetition of the content from the previous to the present. Now, my approach to this was to see where I can get a hold on this. Since it is pre-Siddhantic, do they refer to Rashi, the so-called Greek things? Do they refer to Hora? Do they refer to Vara? This was my curiosity. This continues to be my curiosity. None. It doesn't refer to any of that. It has an astronomy which is totally Indic, so to say, Vedic, which starts with nakshatras, no Rashis, no Varas. Now, to what period it belongs to the next question, which will come to everyone. The manuscripts are only about 500 years old, let me tell you, because they have been copied and recopied, because the tradition is oral. Somewhere in the 200 AD, 300 AD period, whatever was known, people started writing and putting it in palm leaf. But these palm leaf manuscripts have to be copied every 200 years also. The Mythic Society is doing great work in preservation of this. It has to be done, otherwise they will be lost. Now, very important things, people copied and kept it. Maybe a thing what they thought unimportant, they might not have. So it is our good luck if something has come to us up to this time, because our ancients have thought that they should be very important. So 500 years back, or maybe about 400 years back, the manuscripts I showed were all copied and put in various places all over the world. Now, on that, I'm just trying to show you what is IKS. People talk about IKS, but IKS, if you have to retrieve, there's going to be quite a bit of work to be done, and concentrated work to be done, and sieving has to be done, and impartial analysis has to be done. You have to keep an extremely focused, research oriented approach to this. Now, there are two chapters in this. I will not go into the details, called Aditya Chara, which gives the position of sun in the nakshatras. Then there is one more towards the end called Ritu Swabhava. That also gives the position of sun in the various ritus and the months. These are wonderful statements because based on the precision of the equinoxes, position of sun with the nakshatras, we can find out when this was possible, when this was true. This is archaeoastronomy. So if that is done, Aditya Chara belongs to 1300 BC and Ritu Swabhava belongs to 500 BC. So the layered text, it becomes pretty clear, and I will not go into all the details of this. This is a published work. So the first thing was to sort out before you go to the other things. Mahasalila was there in my mind from day one because it's extremely hard to read it. I have produced two of the manuscripts also later on. But it was very clear that contains the most ancient information because it is in a style pre-Paninian. Professor Pandarangi, who is a professor in Karnataka Sanskrit University, he has written a foreword in Sanskrit from the Vaidika point of view. Clearly says it is Panini Purvarti Gatita Gadya Rupam. So it is all pre-Paninian thing, which something like a Brahmana text. You know, a Vedic Brahmana text is not the Samhita text, but the Brahmana text. So the style is roughly that. I can't say more than that. Now that Mahasalilam to come, I had to sort out where I stand as far as the manuscripts are concerned. So we did an analysis of the Aditya Chara, astronomical analysis of the statements given of the error. If I start with 2500 BC, come up to the modern era, to which period these statements may belong. So a computerized analysis of the coordinates of the position of sun in the various nakshatras which is mentioned. Actually, it is the season which is given. Season, you see, suppose I say Shishir Ritu, Adi, Shravishtadi says, Shravishta Nakshatra is in the beginning of the Shishir Ritu. Shishir Ritu Adi is the longitude of sun is 270 degrees. If it is equinox, spring equinox is 0 degrees. Autumn equinox 180 degrees. Summer solstice 90 degrees. This we know. Any era it may be. But this keeps on changing because of the rotation of the earth. We will not go into those details. This is called the precession of the equinox. Today we may have some nakshatra visible in solstice, in the winter solstice. 3000 years back, that was not the nakshatra visible. These people knew they changed the nakshatras also for the solstices. So that is a kind of a sayana kind of work they did, not knowing the reason for it, but purely by observation. So the first one, the green one, is the Aditya Chara minimum error analysis. So the minimum error is around 1250 to 1300 BC. This is same as what people have said about the Vedanga Jyotish of Lagada also, roughly of that. But Lagada gives only one star of Shravishtadi. But what is Shravishta is a controversy, because in Sanskrit the names changed. That is used as Dhanishta nowadays. But Shravishta and Dhanishta, why should it be same? Because Amara Kosha has said they are Paryayi Pada. That was in 400 AD. This is about 3000 years before. Why should it be? In the Vedas, there is no word called Dhanishta. It is always Shravishta. But anyway, that is another matter. Now, the second thing, Ritusvabhava. It is here. Ritusvabhava is very important because it equates the Madhu Madhava months with Chaitra Vaishakha months. It's a very beautiful description of Ritus and also the months. It's a Sauramana calendar which is given there, how to identify the months. And if I do that, that is the red curve that belongs to 500 BC. So you can see that my manuscripts contain minimum 1250 and 500, and it has to contain all the chapters which are in between. So this is socially also extremely important to know how our people lived, what was their belief, what was the religion they adopted, and what was the kind of astrology which might have been there. It is important from that point of view also. So there are two clear chronological markers, 1300 and 500. Now my question was, since Mahasalila, the text is in prose and it is pre-Paninian, it should have been before 1300. Now, how do I establish it? Is there any signatures in the text for that? Was the next question. So we have done all of that, and with the end of it, the publication is here in front of you. You can read and comment and all that later on. The book contains, of course, the 4 words, the preface. Then there is a detailed introduction to the subject, because the subject, which is about 4,000, 5,000 years old, you can't understand, you can't follow from today's paradigm. Even if you are in Kannada or Tamil, or even if I am a Sanskrit scholar, I will be always thinking in terms of Aryabhata, or in terms of Parashara Hora, Brihat Parashara Hora, in terms of Panchangas, things like that. So that has to change. So I've given a brief introduction how it has to be done. Then, is Mahasalila the Vedanga? Now, we talk about Vedanga, 6 Vedangas, left and right, the shlokas are quoted, Niruktam, Vyakaranam, Chandahal. Okay, what is Jyotisha? What is Vedanga Jyotisha? Is there any text for that? For Nirukta, Yaska's text is there, published and all that. For Kalpa, it is there, all the Shrauta Sutras are available. Vyakarana, okay, the Indra Vyakarana, Chandra Vyakarana are last, but Panini is available. He also talks about the Swaradhyaya and all that. So there is something about Vedas there. But what about Jyotisha? There is none, let me tell you. Till Mahasalilam, there has been none. Now this, because this is the most ancient one in time. Later on there have been, as I said, Parashara Tantra is there. Now Vridagargya Jyotisha, some chapters are definitely Vedanga period because they belong to 1300. Lagada's Archa Yojisha also is a later text. But the original one which explains the Vedas. Now Vedanga is something which explains the Vedas. Now, if you see Nirukta explains the Vedas. Adi Daivatartha, Adi Yajnartha, and Adi Adhyatmartha, it says. It discusses the Daivatas. Even though there are 33 Devatas, 3 are sufficient, Yaska says. Prithvi and Antariksha and Dyauhu are sufficient, he says. So, there are such discussions and descriptions and etymology. And Nirukta gives views of Shakapuni, of Bhaguri, and others also. Now, we need text of that kind. Then only we can say it is an intellectual tradition. That is filled up by Mahasalilam, and that was my interest in bringing this out with the text and translation. So, chapter 3 contains the text and translation. Then I have given the critically edited text from all the 11 chapters. I will show some of these slides. Then for people who want to read the originals, the Matrikas are also produced here. I will show why I have produced 2 of this. Also, I will explain. There are a few appendix. The appendix was actually Professor M.D. Srinivas has discussed that in his foreword. Why Mahasalilam is important as pre-Siddhantic. He is the leading historian of astronomy in this country today. He is in Madras. Many of you may be knowing. Recently, he was awarded the Padma Shri also. And he has written the foreword in English. The Jyotisha, which is there in the first Anga, the Nakshatra Karma Gunanga, Tithi Karma Guna, Muhurta, they could not be understood without following what is there in the Mahasalila. So the idea was to put them as appendix. That's also available in this book. So a little bit of astrology we will know there. Now this is the introduction, 40 pages of introduction, then other 30 pages of explaining why it is Vedanga, why it should be considered Vedanga, where it explains the Vedas, in what sense and all that. Then the actual text I have given it like this. That is the Sanskrit one, the statements in the beginning, numbered so that for later discussion it would be useful. Then a working translation, then which is in square bracket, which is actually my comments. To understand this, the commentary, that is something like an English Vyakhyana you can see. So, now what this book contains, there are 2 chapters in this as far as Mahasalila is concerned. First is called Prashnadhyaya, only questions. And the questions are like that, which I have shown there. Katham va tarakaha, kati va, katham va tarakanam tarakatvam. What are stars? What are their dimensions? How many stars are there? These are the questions put. Then again is the Katham va chatushpat pakshinaha. How did the chatushpat means the quadrupeds come up? How did birds come up? How did ants and others come up in this earth? These are the kind of questions which are there. And then towards the end it says, Prithivyaha parimanam antarikshasva. Tell me the dimension of Prithvi. Tell me at what distance sun and moon are located with reference to Prithvi. These are the kind of questions. We'll come to that again. And I'm underlining that Vrudagargiye Mahasalila at the end. That is the Pushpika, as it is called, the colophon. It is called Mahasalila. The name of the text I picked up because the text itself calls it Mahasalila. It is not just Lagu Salila or Salila or Garga Salila or something like. It is not like that. It is Mahasalila. So that is how I picked up. So I had to give a reason for putting the title that in, because the others may call it Gargi Jyotish or whatever. And the sometimes the notes becomes too long. So you have to excuse me in the text. For example, in the answers there is something, Mukhametat Prajapatehe yad Darsha Purnamasam. Darsha Purnamasam is the key yaga for the Vedikas. Even today the Rahitagnis do that in the Darsha and Purnamasa. Yevam Apuryamana, etc. it is there. And Purnatiti Purnamasam Kalo Bhavati. Purnatiti, please note that. The meaning of what is Tithi? Hundreds of meanings are, so much of controversies are there. Now, Westerners have produced a plural for Tithi called Tithes. And he says that Tithi is actually Babylonian, it is not Indian. Naigabaur, mentions about Tithi, that Tithi, without knowing that the clay tablets cannot be understood, but it doesn't say that it could have come from India. And of course, Pingree is totally against all of this, So I hope you would comment on that, maybe, if I am wrong. But is the first traceable thing where Purna Tithi comes. Tithi is used from the Pratyaya Tituk, which is something like a limiter. As in English, we say 10th, 14th, 15th, or 10th row, 10th person, 10th day, that TH kind of thing. That is a limiter. So it is the Purna Tithi, Paurnamasan Kalo Bhavati. And in fact, later on I have showed, even Panini and Mahabhashya gives the same thing. When it is Purna, it's called Purna Tithi. Now, the explanations are here in the square bracket. And the square bracket sometimes becomes pretty long. You have to bear with that. That's some interesting question, that was one of the reasons why we invited Dr. Somanath to come and release this. This is to do with Chandra and the mark which is on the moon. What are the marks on the moon is the question here. It looks like Shasha. What is that? There is also another mark. What is that? And he says, I have given in the text the details. Varunascha apa eta madhye yesha prithivya kritam chandramandala madhye samakriti. He says there is water on moon, and what you see is a reflection of Prithvi there in the water of moon, and that is the mark which is there. And this is also there in the Mahabharata, the statement that it is a reflection. The text itself, the critical text is given like this. So all the Pathantaras with all the 11 ones, the ones we have accepted is shown in bold. The alternates are shown in light letters. You see, V1, M2, Anuvya, Kyotyo, Syama, something is there. Because the people who copied, they were not Sanskrit scholars. One or two might have been, but not all. So they have simply copied without knowing what it is. So that happens, and also there are missing texts. So where it is repeated, the same word is repeated, all that we have captured. So if you can do an inverse problem, that is, from this go back, you can reconstruct all the 11 manuscripts I showed in the beginning. Considering all this, you can write a program and keep on matching. You will get the wrong picture also of all the manuscripts. So that is completely available. And this is the two manuscripts which I have given in the text itself. One called A1, the second one is called K1. The 11 I have listed, this is a notation. What was the reason for I selected this? Now, manuscriptologists analyze based on the script, based on whether number has gone like this. There is a sta and the cha is the UP kind of thing, is a Kashmirian kind of script or a Gujarat script. So many things are there, and they put a tree of how from one manuscript the other might have come. This is what is studied in manuscriptology. My interest was not so much that, because others have also done. The Westerners have also done this work from the manuscript they are having. But my interest was only in the content. That means, what was the culture which was there? What was the astronomy which was there? What was the knowledge and the jnana which was there? Now, based on it, fortunately, or somehow or other, the 11 manuscripts of Mahasalila, I'm not talking of the original big bundle of the Garga Jyotisha total, but only of this, there are two groups. One is A1, A2, F1, P4, and U1. F1 is the French one. P4 is from Pune. U1 is from UK. A1 is from Alwar, Rajasthan. A1, A2 are from Rajasthan. They have, in some places, have replaced Angaraka by Bhauma and also by Mangala. In some places of the text, I have given that indeed. Whereas the others, B1, K1 is from National Library, Calcutta. M2 is from Bombay. B1 is actually from Bangalore only. IGNC's script, which is kept here in their library. From there we have picked up. P1 is from Pune. That is from the Bori. Whereas P4 is also from Pune, but from Ferguson College. So there has been a difference. V1, V2 are from Varanasi. They continuously use only Angaraka, no Mangala, no Bhauma. So you can see that these belong to one group which have been recopied later on, where they have introduced this. I feel they are names which are more modern than Angaraka. Now this is the appendix. The appendix, only one thing I want to show. The Nakshatra Karma Guna, what is it we understand from the Kritika Nakshatra? Kanyopanayanam Kuryat. In the Kritika Nakshatra. Now, Kanyopanayanam is forgotten today. Many people would say it should not be done and things of that kind. I mean, people who want to revive, that is another matter. And even the Dharma Shastra says, Purakalpe. When it was done, now you need not do kind of statements are done. But it says in Kritika Nakshatra, Kanyopanayanam Kuryat. This belongs minimum to 500 BC. Now, this is what I want to show. You get so many such things. It's only one example. And also this text gives, I have underlined another one there. Shattare Vanhi Daivate. The Vanhi Daivata Kritika has 6 stars. All the number of stars are listed, exactly listed, making 86 stars, making 28 nakshatras, including Abhijit. This is very important because later on we will come to the text here. The general principle of handling, all the ancient texts, Vedic period, the natural sciences, is a tripartite. It is astral, Dyauh, then Antariksham, the atmosphere, and Prithvi, that is the earth. So the whole universe is handled in 3 parts. There is a reason also. The creation itself, he says, it was like that. And when you consider the Dyauh, cosmology, cosmogony, astronomy, star, dhruva, sun, moon, all of them come under that. In the Antariksha, the atmosphere, wind, cloud, monsoon, season, rainfall, rainbow, halos, all these are discussed. When it comes to Prithvi, of course, there are so many things in the later texts, life, language, agriculture, but not in these texts. In the ancient texts, it is earthquakes, mountains, geography, little bit of calendar. That is what is there in the more ancient Vedic period text. It starts like this. Athato Mahasalilam anuvyakyasyamaha itihasmaha bhagavan. This is the first sentence which is there, which is very typically kind of athato, like ancient text, and anuvyakyasyamaha comes in the Vedic Brahmana text several times. That is how it starts. And then this comes as a question and answer between Angirasam Maharshim Vriddha Gargam. Now, this word Angirasa, later on you would see, also used for planets, because the ancient rishis, they were supposed to be, some of them, at least the Saptarshis, were the mind-born sons of Brahman. And they are equated also with planets or stars. Now, this, of course, starts in the same way. The text is very beautiful, but I will not be able to read and explain because it will take so much of time. And then who questions him? He is questioned by Maharshi Vishwamitra. It is there. Maharshi Vishwamitro Mahatapascha Abhigamya Sprishtva Upavishya Sukham, etc., etc. You know, the Sanskrit text, everything is compressed. One word you take, Kathantare. What is Kathantare? We have to say, inquired about his courteous talks, this and that. Then there is a Sprishtva, Anupurvam Sprishtva, touching each person there as per protocol. Maybe some people he would do only at the head, he will touch with the youngers. The elders he has to touch the. That is Anupurvam Sprishta. If you want to understand fully, you have to see the original thing, life, how it was. And some he has to do Abhivadanam and all of that. So he finishes everything. Sarvancha Anupurvam Sprishta. Finished. So you have to go like that. Then the questions are, he says, Sarvadarshitvam. He asks Vriddha Garga the question. Tatra Kathamiyam Prithvi Pradur Babuva. This Prithvi, how did it happen? Kasmat Chayam Prithvi, Kvavathishtati. Where it is staying. Katham Vantariksha. I'm specifically showing about Prithvi because there are people who think before Siddhantic astronomy, Indians were flat earthers. This is a wrong impression. They might not have known, they have never said it is a gola or a sphere. That is true. That doesn't mean that they thought that it is flat, infinitely flat. It is not. Even if you see the Puranas, they are very quiet. Some of the later Puranas say Mahi Golam, it says. Brahmanda Purana, third chapter, third part says that. Whereas the initial ones doesn't say. Talks only Prithvi. And how did Prithvi come up? And these are the questions. And he also asks, Katamimo Surya Chandrabasu Udayate Gachatova. Kovani Majjate. Where it goes down and all that. These are all important, even religiously. Because in Sandhya Vandana, some things are said and some stories are said from Taitira Aranika and all that. Stories are always there so that you make them interesting, so that you don't forget. If there is an exact science, you forget. You put it inside because it will be boring. So if you preserve it through legends and stories, it remains. It is for you to decipher and understand, Then also ask, Shukra Brahaspati Angaraka Buddha Shanaishcharadinam Katanchaisham Grahatvam. What is meant by Graha? What is the reason? And Katam Veme Srishtaha Kimartam. Why did they were created? Ekaikasya Rashmi Yaha Parisankhya. What is their brightness? How many rays they are having? All these questions, there are 100 questions. Katham va ayam Rahu Surya Chandramaso Grinhitev. Why this Rahu captures Surya and Chandra? Please note, Ketu is not Ketu. It is Rahu who does both Surya Grahana and Chandra Grahana in the more ancient time. Ketu coming in is only through the Panchanga only after 13th century. Before that, Ketu was a comet only. In fact, it is there also. Katham va ime Dhumaketavaha pradurbhutaha. Kativa parisankhyaayante. Kinchaisha varna sankyanam. Shikha parimanam. What is their length? Ke drishyante, which are seen. Ke antarhitaha tishtante. Which are the comets which are not seen? So they knew about this. Even to put such a question, you need some observational ability and some knowledge of the previous knowledge, So, okay, anyway, this keeps on like this. And he says, Etat sarvam asheshato bruvatu bhavaniti. Bruvatu is Apaninian. So it is the pre-Paninian kind of thing which is there. It is Vridhagargiya Mahasalila. Now, Mahasalilam as a Vedanga Jyotisha is placed because of the following leaders. First, creation and cosmos. Salilam ima asi dande tamsi niramaye loke tatrandam, etc. Divya rupam adbhatam sambhavuva. So it is actually the Rigvedic or the Vedic kind of thing where Salilam ima, it is not Salila, is not water. Salilam was something like a fluid. What was there? It was tamasi, ande tamasi. It was dark. It was not darkness. Today I would call tamas as darkness. It is something which is dark. It doesn't say what it is. You can call it dark matter. There has to be some matter there. In fact, this is also in the Rig Veda, as you know. Later on I will show that. And Sayanacharya writes a commentary. The matter, universal matter which is there everywhere is called Abhu. And that was what he wants to call it as Salila or water. Okay, you can call it. Later on, people have said it is water only. And in some of the Yajurvedic texts, Apava idamagre salilamase. That means this water was originally Salila. Maybe because there has been some action has happened and H2 and O has combined and water might have come out after that. Like today, astrophysicists are telling. They might have imagined all these things. That is quite possible. Puranas would say water is the Kshira Sagara on which in fact on a Krishna is lying or a Vishnu is lying kind of thing. Here nothing of that kind. It is self-similar. Brahma Atmanam Asrajat. Brahma created himself Atmanam. Tatra Dvida Andam Abhavat. The egg which was there, it divided into two. Yad Adastat Kapalam Tat Pratitam. The lower half went on expanding. That Prathanat Prithvi, because it expanded, it is called Prithvi. One which I see expanded up to the horizon, up where the horizon meets, that is Prithvi originally. And whatever in the top, which looks like a Velkin, whatever you call it, that is called Dyauh. The in between Kshiti antarasthitam atrava kshiyante sarva eva bhuta gramaha ityetat evam antariksha. For antariksha gives two definitions. Antaram enam apikshita, whatever is in between. Something you see between these two, that is antariksha. Or where all life dies. All life, whatever is created, that is called antariksha, is what he says. And how it was created, and he gives again the Vedic thing, which comes in the Brahmanas, that you can call it self-sacrifice, as in the Purusha Sukta, which seems to be a later sophisticated description to tell people, common people, whereas here it is self-similar. He said Bhu, etc., and then he created Agni. First, it is actually in the Aitareya Brahmana, it is Aditya which is created first. What you may call proto-sun. Something, you have to take it like that. Then tatas tasmat jolicha archihi jukvan uto bhrigurajayata. He offered something swaha. Swa aha. He himself said, that is the literal meaning of the word swaha. Bhrigu ajayata. You want to take him as the Bhrigu Rishi? Okay, Puranas take it like that because he is born out of that. He's actually later on from him came Bhargava, that is Shukra. So after sun it is Shukra, and after Shukra it is Angiraha. Angiraha would be, it is the coal which is there, and after a long time Angirasam Asarjat, it is the Jupiter, proto-Jupiter, is the systematic explanation you can get, because life came up later on as per this itself. Okay. Panchame swahakare gauh ajayata, shashte swahakare tejaha is again a very problematic thing, because people would say gauh means cows, and how did it create? It is not. Gauh refers to the rays. It is some kind of a light which is there, which in fact Nirukta gives the meaning. There is no difficulty on that. And later Swahakare Teja says it was darkness, even light came only after this. After this, the light came, and Tejas, some kind of brilliance, and you may call by any other name, also came up. I quoted just two. Rigveda 10, Tama asit tamasa gudam agre apraketam salilam sarvama idam, etc. Manusmriti, asididam tamo bhutam aprajnatam alakshanam. That tamas, that darkness, or the dark matter, or something which was dark, not even light, could not be seen, is a very important. How did they do it is another matter. They imagined, or maybe through Yogijanya Pratyaksha they got it, is another matter.